Hey guys, check this out. Keith Duplessis is about to show you guys how to do a proper application, and an efficient one too, of the glass coating P&S View on this vehicle we're working on today. Check it out.
Okay, so first thing you do, you open the kit up and you got 4 of these little cards. You should be able to do probably 10 windshields with 2 layers with this bottle of product. So you get quite a bit of glass out of it. You can have an upcharge for doing glass. Typically, I find some installers will either just completely upcharge and do all the glass, or they won't do any of it, or they will do the whole coating, and included in the coating packages, they'll do the windshield. If you want me to do the rest of the glass, then they upcharge for it. So you can do it any way you want, but glass coating is pretty easy. So this sticker, you'll notice, has the classic, it has the sole, and it has the glass. So if you're doing a coating job for somebody, you can mark that you did, 1, 2, or all of them, whichever it is. Coating applicator. If you feel it, there is a plastic barrier between the microfiber and the sponge inside. And then we have View Glass Cleaner, which is awesome as heck. Formulated so that it will lay down on a super smooth panel that doesn't have a lot of pores to it. So glass is a much smoother, flatter surface than paint is. Paint, if you looked at it under a microscope, looks like mountains on the moon, because it actually is pretty rough. Even though it looks super smooth and feels smooth after what you guys did to it to polish it, the glass is still a harder, smoother surface. So we need a product that's gonna lay down and stay on the surface. So today we're gonna use the gray side. I'm gonna take and put down a liberal amount of product, and I'm gonna lay it down on half the windshield, okay? Now I'm priming up the pad here, just like we do when we compound, we wanna prime up our applicator. As we get a little further down the road of applying product, we won't need to put quite as much on as I put on here. So I always wanna take my bottle and at least nominally put a couple twists on recapping it. That way the product doesn't get air infiltration and doesn't start to dry out. So I'm gonna do half of the windshield at a time. In your guys' case, you could do the entire window panel or half the windshield, or you could do, in this case, because I can't reach it, I'd only do half the roof, and then I go do the other half, okay? So I'm gonna start and I'm gonna lay down a wet line. And I'm gonna take that from the center of the windshield and I'm gonna drag with my pad nice and flat. Notice I'm not putting pressure, I'm just dragging it along up to the diagonal. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna box out my area all the way down, all the way across, just so I make sure I cover my perimeter first, and all the way back up. And now what I can do is I can now go up and down, and you notice I'm picking up that wet line, I'm getting the freshest amount of product, which was the most I had on at that time, and I'm picking it up and refreshing my applicator as I go back and forth over the surface. Now, if you guys can come up and take a look at this, what you'll see is it's starting to rainbow, isn't it? It looks kind of like an oil slick. You see that? So we want to get that so that those start to really flash out and start to separate. And then we want to level it. My good friend, who is owner of the company, we call this the hot dog roll. But this is how I do my first pass. It's a leveling pass, guys. I'm not trying to remove the product. I'm trying to just make sure it's level and even over the surface. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my applicator. You see my little flap here? I'm just gonna drag it along, and you see how I'm re-streaking it in much finer streaks? And I'm just re-leveling my glass. Can everybody see that? Thank you. I can't see your mouse or heads nodding, so. Okay, so now I still have the product on the windshield, but now what I've done is I've leveled it over, made sure that I have even coverage and it's totally covering the glass. I'm gonna let that cure up just a little bit. You can see it starting to, again, the streaks are getting wider apart. They're separating a little bit. That's what I want it to do. Now, my drag towel. So I wanna make sure I set this somewhere where it doesn't get contaminated. Normally I'd have a little cart, but I got a table, so I'll use my table, okay? That's my first pass towel. So this is about right. Today's a perfect day. We have a minute or 2, 3 minutes of working time before we really have to scramble to polish this out. On a hotter day or more humid day, we'd have a little less working time. On a colder day, we may have a little longer working time. So I'm just gonna take my towel. You notice I got my finger pinch here, so I don't lose my towel. And I'm just gonna, again, follow my pattern, and I'm gonna pick up all the material, make sure I get it all up with my buff out, and I will flip my towel and cross buff it just to make sure I get it. And then before I move on, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna look at it from a couple different angles and make sure I didn't leave any high spots. So a high spot would be like a silicone smudge. And I don't have one here, but I will leave one on the next side. So That's layer one. We're gonna do 2 layers of this, but we're gonna give this about 45 minutes to an hour in between layers. What we're gonna do in that time is we're gonna coat the rest of the car.
All right, guys, so there you have it. That was just a quick overview of doing a glass coating on a vehicle. Stay tuned for more classes. Follow us on Instagram so you can get all these tips and tricks. Always send us a message. I'll see your message. Shoot me a text, a call, and we'll go over how we can get you guys to be ceramic coating installers for P&S. Lastly, we're located here in Sacramento, California, Rancho Cordova to be exact. Come check out our beautiful storefront where you can find everything from towels to chemicals to your ceramic coatings. We'll see you soon. Take care.